Hey guys, it's me again, Orc Slayer. What if? So where we last left off, let's see, checking. We're back to the Nameless King, what if? So, yeah. See, Bell and his companions essentially rebelled. The land of Islith is rebelling. Pretty much the entire kingdom is in full-on rebellion. Guinevere pretty much has left at this point. I did not say that. Maybe if I'll make this clear is that from what I know is that when everything typically starts going to pretty much starts falling apart, Guinevere disappears from what I can tell from the lore and such. So, and Gwendolyn's pretty much the only one who's staying behind, having faith in his father. While Belle is leading a straight-up rebellion, and this is full-on civil war. They may have less castles, but they have dragons and demons on their side. Yeah. And I can't really show you another 10 parts of battles, so I'll just say this war is long and hard fought. Quaylon and Quaylag asked to go back to the land of Islith. Deku sends Solaire and several Ferosa warriors to go with them to escort them, knowing that Gwen may try to send people after them, seeing that they're highly valued hostages, you could say. In these years, it's turmoil. Bell and King are essentially leading the spearhead as they smash into groups of dragons. Smo has essentially become one of the greatest fighters in the entire thing, smashing his way through dragons and, as he would call them, rebels, pretty much is what they've been labeled as. Bell, as a nameless king, essentially has so much against Gwen, but Gwen also has a lot, because the land of Anorlando is large, and thanks to the Four Kings' future sight, they can give him an edge into that. Dragons come from the skies, and not just any old dragons, but ancient dragons. Thankfully, most of the time, Gwen is there to handle them. But since, well, they like to stay out of the affairs unless it's directly impacted, only a few have come to actually aid Deku and his men, and his army. Bell and King of Storms, like I said, are cutting a swath across Gwen's forces. But the same could be said for Bell. The same could be said for Bell. Same could be said for Bell, is that his forces are getting hammered pretty badly, especially with, well, Bell has essentially divided up his troops. He's given command to armies, you could say, to several high-ranking members. Hawkeye Goth, Ornstein, Havel, and even Solaire has his own army. They all lead their own separate ones. Ornstein comes to clash with Artorias time and time again. Ornstein comes to clash with Smo, more or less. Hawkeye Goth doesn't really clash with anyone. He just leads his troops against some random general, you would say. And Solaire, he leads his warriors against Artorias as he comes to battle Artorias on fields every time. Well, Artorias and Sith. He is actually pretty good when it comes to fighting. When it comes to dueling, you could say, against Artorias. And scratch that, Solaire and Havel, since they work pretty well together, are pretty much in the same thing as like co-generals. They each lead their own set of troops and they work closely together. With Solaire pretty much being in the situation where he fights Artorias over and over again. And every time some people see this, they think of it as just, it's not like two people fighting, but like a lightning strike and something close to that of the wind. With how fast Artorias is and with how fast Solaire is. Solaire uses lightning enhances himself with Sacred Oath and just fights Artorias tooth and nail. While on the other side of the battlefield, a giant wolf is currently fighting with Havel. Sif using I believe it's a male, Sif using his sword and slicing and smashing with his weapon. Havel actually having difficulty trying not to block it, but to try and get hits in with how large this sword is. It's pretty big. Gwyn right now is going to combat Bell. Well, not combat Bell, but he's pretty much leading other forces elsewhere. And he's currently working on something. Nobody knows. He's been gone for quite a while. And for some of you who may ask, Seath the Scaleless, if you know who he is not in this. That is being said, that should have probably been said a while ago, but I just couldn't figure a way to fit him in this with how I have the story and everything. But it's a gruesome war that takes years, and I mean years, for it to completely finish. Like, Solaire was able to, like, get back, and since, well, demons and dragons are assisting Bell's army, and giants, pyromancers, they have a lot arrayed against them. So as it's a final battle, every battle has become costly. This is like the deciding battle. There's nothing else. No one else. Two massive armies meet that could easily say have over 100,000 or even more so of troops ready to fight. Like I said, Aaron Londo is pretty big. But only two people approach. Bell and his father, Gwyn. It's just a calm day. There's storm clouds in the sky, but no lightning or rain. It's a calm, smooth thing, like wind blowing sound effects. Yes. As that happens, Bell pretty much gives what you could only pretty much says as a bow or salute to his father. His father not moving, only to grab the other end of his sword, two-handing it. Bell nodding as he understands, doesn't cast anything. Both are supercharged with the amount of faith there is, and how strong that faith is. Bell's faith, the people who have faith in Bell is extremely high. Like, incredibly so. Even the lizard people are starting to worship him. And they're very devoted, you would say. Then, you got Gwyn's, who are borderline evil fanatics. I have two different types of fanatical. These guys are the ones who would probably burn people if they even suspected them of being a rebel. And in fact, they have. And I'll tell more stories later like I did with Artorias What If. But anyways, as they prepare themselves, Deku tells Nameless King that he is to back off. Well, no. I'll say at this point, scratch that. At this point, Bell can't tell how, but Gwyn's power is exceeding his by quite a bit. He rides on top of Nameless King into battle, standing on his back as they fly off, and the storm starts to appear with lightning coming down. Gwyn starts letting off the lightning as well as Bell's. Bell's having power, but Gwyn's is more so. As they continue this battle from a long range, Nameless King eventually comes into Kid in close range, with Bell helping him out by swinging and smashing and stabbing at his own father. As that happens, well, eventually after a long fight, the Nameless King's neck is sliced and then eventually cut off. Well, not cut off, but stabbed, as Gwyn rushed forward and stabbed right into the Nameless King, and he electrified them to extreme degrees and even threw him back, causing Bell and him to go flying. So there's my lord. Well, several of them no, King. Bell recovers immediately. And in this thing, there is the whole, I believe it's known as soul taking, like how he does in the game. Through means unknown to us, this will be just a mystery. He knows that that is a thing. And that if strong bonds are built up enough, or something along those lines, or whatever, you can take the abilities and powers of something else, like how Smo and Ornstein did it, and how Nameless King did it, like I said. And that's how it will be done. He walks over as he does the whole grabbing Nameless King's helmet head, feeling extreme sadness, rage. As he brings up his weapon and stabs into the head of the Nameless King. Well, not Nameless King, but King of the Storms, or King. And then there's just a massive blast of power, not powder. With Bell's power exceeding Gwen's by tons. Bell then walks forward slowly, taking his weapon and causing the whole earthquakes and such. Flying around and zapping around, stabbing and eventually dueling with Gwen. As his strikes are enough, as Gwen comments to himself, "I feel my bones shaking." As when Bell strikes another time, even the ground underneath them starts to shatter. Bell then grabs his father's wrist and kicks him forward, sending him flying. But Bell was unable to keep his grip, or even just let his grip go, and eventually his father's come tumbling. He stops himself, stabbing his sword into the ground, trying to recover. His father then decides to do his own upgrade, seeing that there's no way he can beat him. So he starts pretty much saying words, but before he's able to finish that, someone shouts out, Islith, I guess, who at that point was a weird bug. I'll say one of the daughters, pretty much shouts out saying, "Do not let him finish the ritual." Belle looks at her, as she says that it's from the depths of, as before they finish it, a massive blast of fire. Gwen's power again exceeds but is pretty much on the same playing field as Belle's. Their power levels are so crazy that together they may be able to kill an entire pantheon of gods, but with the two of them. And you know, some of these pantheons are quite crazy. Belle and, Gwen look at each other. Gwen is blazing with fire, like something out of nothing, out of nowhere, but he feels a familiar presence. If you all remember, I said Bell has gone to the depths of hell, and has fought dangerous creatures there. Gwen has preparing for this moment. He realized that his own power nor the faith of his followers would be sufficient enough to kill Bell. So he went with the best next thing, dark magic. He started figuring out rituals and such over these years that would take. Gwendolyn sees this, and before he shouts out, Bell and Gwen launch at each other, smashing their weapons together as it creates a fire, electricity inferno of sorts. As it's just all that excess power is just smashing around into the landscape. As when they start clashing blades again and again and again, the ground starts literally splitting open. Fire erupts from the ground, lightning strikes smashing to the ground as well. The wizards and such are throwing up magic shields to protect all their own, but since these armies are pretty large, they can't cover everyone. So everyone's scrambling away trying to save themselves from this battle of gods. As they smash their weapons into each other again, Belle's like, "What have you become? The thing I needed to be." As he pretty much smashes Belle's weapon aside, Belle trying to bring it as close as he can to save himself. Gwen then stabs, or at least attempts to stab into Belle, but only not grazing him, but sort of like cutting him along his leg. Bell, seeing his own opportunity, brings the swords down, slicing it across Gwen's chest. Gwen pretty much back off, feeling this blood. As he feels the wound across his chest, his godlike blood is bleeding on the ground. Bell's as well. They look down and they go back at it. Bell slicing into his father, with Gwen doing the same thing, bringing out lightning strikes and increasing his abilities with Sacred Oath, again his favorite thing, doing it one last time as his father stabs into him. As Bell realizes that if they continue this, the landscape's starting to look more like the depths of hell. As Bell sees that they're evenly matched and that there's no way that this will end without a decent part of the land being destroyed and covered in extreme amounts of fire, lightning, and death. And mostly the armies are starting to get hit quite hard. Dragons are trying to fly away, tribesmen and such are starting to back up, even the lizardmen. The giants are trying to cover themselves. Everyone's just trying to save themselves. As Bell, thinking into his head, I hoped it never had to come to this, Father. As he lets his guard down for a split second as his father drives his blade right into Bell. Bell then falls onto one knee. But before his father can pull the blade out, Bell immediately has the weapon down at an angle, grabs his father and brings him in, impaling his father on the thing. Gwen's like, ugh, with like a, it's like, shit. So, you couldn't win, so you decided to take us both. No. Look around you, you old man. As he looks around, what happened? You lost yourself. The world is being destroyed by our might. It must end. As then he picks himself up with the sword still in him, ripping out his own out of his father's chest. He brings it up one last time and says, "Forgive me, Father." Gwen still has his hand on the weapon that's impaled into Bell. He's like, "Finish it." Bell bringing the weapon down, stabbing it one last time as he then uses all his might, all his godlike abilities, and uses it to completely destroy his father's god ability, even his very presence, as he is disintegrated. As with that final act, Bell feels weakened, incredibly so. Bell falls to his knees, and before he's completely done, he stabs his weapon into the ground, keeping himself up. Solaire and the rest of them come rushing over. "My lord, are you alright?" Gwendolyn also rushing over. "Brother." As they look upon him, something feels off though. Gwendolyn can't tell. He's like, "Brother, are you okay?" He's like, before he can answer, he coughs up blood. Normal human blood. I don't know if there's a difference, but let's say there is. They're like, "Brother, you're mortal." "Yes. Took everything I had to kill Father." As he starts to fall over, "Brother, I have a request. I will not make it much longer. The cave, brother. Do you know the cave where I found the ore for this?" As he clutches to his weapon, he's like, "Yes. Put me there. That is my last request." As he lets it all out, "The war is over! Go to your homes!" As he's like, "Live well." As he finally collapses onto the ground, his life has left him to some extent. As he finally falls over and is completely, pretty much to them, completely dead. He's mortal. Gwendolyn, after a while of processing this, saying this, like about a week or so, Soler and them all have taken their time to mourn. So as they do as he asked, the mountain where the rocks, where he found the ore, where all this started, they start an entire thing where all these people who believed in him or had faith in him, it's pretty much like a giant march of religious people as they're all marching towards this mountainous pass. Giants, even lizard folk, dragons, all these things are there. Demons even, who have some kind of actually they also worship him for his master at arms and god of war. They respect that and they followed him. As his entire thing, he wants nothing else. Seal the tomb and put his body in a sarcophagus there. As they travel up the mountain, they have made a fine sarcophagus made out of gold and silver. As they've set his bodies there, and they put the thing over it, say, would anyone like give words to the congregation, as it would be said? As Soler, as no one else thinks they deserve the right to, aside from Soler and Ornstein. Soler and Ornstein talking amongst themselves, who shall do it? Soler says, it should be you. Not Soler, Ornstein. I said Ornstein, right? Ornstein says it should be you, Soler. What? I thought you... I do. I'll say my words in private to the rest of you. Speak your words to the congregation. You knew him the longest. Okay. Soler speaking his words, giving a great speech in a way, saying that Bell wished for us his place to rest. And he says that he cared for each and every one of us. And that for those who have lost their loved ones during this war, he is sorry. But he asks that we all stay united. Not united, but as a way, leave him be. And can't think of anything. I had something, but I accidentally erased it. I can't remember to save my life. I hate myself for that so much. Anyways, he gives a nice speech letting them know that Bell is sorry for those who have lost their families. But he gives an order for them to go home and earn the rest, for they have earned it. To go back to their families and to start their lives again. They will and as his final words, he says this: do you deny his last request? No, we do not. In multiple languages. Every language there. Gianties, I guess would be the way. Demons, the land of demons, lizard, dragon, everything. They all worship him in one way or another. And now in the city of Anderlondo, time till at least. So learn them all leave. Thousands of years pass. Not a single thing alive that remembers, except for the gods themselves, that remember who the land of Anderlondo, the kingdoms, or even the ancient dragons. They don't remember those wars. The only thing that remains is the land of Izalith, which remains under their new god, Izalith herself, as it would be the god of the flames of chaos, as they would be labeled as. Almost uncontrollable are the flames. They burn and consume anything that they touch, except for the demons, as they would be called. They survived the flames, and people don't know. They just think that they appeared out of nowhere, that they've always been. The gods made Aurario eventually, after coming down. Several of them wanted to come and meet, to talk about the resting place of Bel, but they heard what he said. In that time, Festus mourned dearly. Same thing with Thor. He mourned dearly for his lost friend. Gods themselves don't talk about Belle's family, unless, like I said, if you guys want Gwendolyn and Guinevere to survive and to make their own familias, it's your choice. The gods themselves don't really talk about it. Gwendolyn and Guinevere. I'll let you guys decide that. In this time, all the familias are established. Again, nope. There's only been whispers and mentions of Belle a few times, where Hephaestus talks about how, like, one of her students asked, "What's the most powerful weapon you've ever made? Like, is it here?" No, it was made for a friend. So, oh, can we see it? Who is it? Was it one of the gods? Yes. Are they in the city? No, child. Where are they then? It's nowhere. And she's like, if you'll excuse me, as she puts down the hammer and walks out of the thing and just goes to her own private quarters for a bit. She starts remembering. She's like, God damn it, why? Finest weapon. As she lifts up, and she has the mold for the weapon right there, to always be a reminder to her. That is the mold that she used to make Belle's weapon. The dragon-slaying god of war and master at arms. Unmatched by even the greatest of heaven. Even in the heavens, he was unmatched by any. In combat and in strength. The only other one to have ever mentioned him was Thor. Says that he wishes Belle was still here, for then he would still have a fight, for none of his children or even the gods can match him when it comes to strength. The only one probably being able to do that is Hercules, but that was a half-god. No one, he says, no one. We're forbidden to use our powers, so it's even worse. I wish you were here, Belle, for, as he says that under his breath, who's for, nobody. You are not to say that to anyone, you understand me. It's like, yes, say it, you understand me. I understand. Swear to secrecy. I swear. I swear, my father. It's like, good. Now, go run along. I feel I need to go for a walk. That being said, we cut back to Belle's tomb. As, for no reason at all, something happens. He takes in a deep breath of air and is alive. What the fuck? As he pushes on the thing on top of him, the sarcophagus lid, pushes it off with some effort. Hops out and falls to his knees. He's like, what happened? I remember. Father and I were fighting. I won and then I died. I can't remember. So he then kicks off the giant boulder or whatever that's in the way of the tunnel. The warriors of Ferocia village is gone. Nothing there, just ruins. You could say where the warriors of Ferocia made stone buildings. That's gone. Belle's family, Belle then travels up the mountain, tries to see, but he sees no settlements or anything. Starts traveling to what he can remember as the land of the kingdom, the castle or the city of Orlando, the capital. As he enters it, he's like, I remember it all. He remembers walking up the stairs and being paraded around as some sort of war hero. He sort of has flashback to his companions. He looks up and sees the castle where he met the 4 kings. He remembers Solaire and his companions at his side then too, along with King. As he's like, King. Oh. He remembers King. And how King gave him enough power to finally defeat his father. Then he sees the final thing. The the manor where he and his family stayed at. It's crumbling though, nothing, barely any of it standing. Deku at that point, not Deku, Bell then leaves the city, seeing no point in staying, giving his last respects to his ruined city, then making his way along just roads that he remembers taking and walking. From around that city he finds rags and such and covers himself in them, not wanting to be a target for any bandits and such because he feels himself weakened. Along this trip he feels hunger. He's still superhuman, but he's crazy hungry. He eventually walks around and finds a deer or something, uses his giant weapon and kills it very weirdly. Cooks it with his lightning, feeling as he eats it, making his way, using the skin and such as some sort of crude jacket or cloth or whatever. Eventually finding his way towards the crossroads where he met Solaire. And this is weeks worth of traveling, maybe even months. He looks around and sees, what the? Noticing it, he bolts towards where he remembers. People knows, like, what's that guy doing? He makes his way there and finds nothing but forest. No ruins, no nothing. He pushes through and eventually finds a statue of himself. You can just tell by looking at this statue that it is old. Old indeed. As he's like, Solaire. As there's an inscription in it that nobody can read, but Bell can. To the shrine of the Lord, the God of War, the dragon-slaying God of War and Master at Arms, Faram. Lord Faram. General, the great dragon-slaying general of Anerlondo, and dragon killer, known to all. Died fighting his father in defense of slavery. In a way is what he worded it as. Yeah. Then makes his way to the city. Along the way he got hungry again and killed another deer. Cooked it and ate it. This time, knowing that some way of how humans trade and such, he knows that he brings the deer into town and pretty much drops it at a butcher shop, asking what he can get for it, as they give him something. Then asks, what's the religion around here? Thankfully, they still speak his language, but not read his language. It's like, it's a mixed bag. He's like, but if you want to go to the gods, the city of Aurario is that way. It is a great place. The gods themselves stay there and have familiars. And there's a great dungeon that needs to be conquered. Humans all over humans, demons, lizard folk, all go there to prove themselves. He's like, thank you. And I'll take back what I said. The only thing that really has a religion closely to Bell is something known as the Nameless King religion. The lizard men don't know where he appeared at. His records are lost to time. All they know is that he saved them in some way from a calamity. So they only offer... No one else really knows about this. This is a secret religion. They don't offer it directly to Bell, so that's why he isn't receiving power from it. But anyways, after speaking to this man and getting money, he makes his way. It takes months, years, or even up to a year to get there. Eventually making it all the way there. Not all the way. Yeah, all the way there. Goes through the city and is looking around in awe. He's like, city is great. And it's massive. Jesus. He looks around. There's giants, demons, lizard men, Humans, and even giant humans. Humans, yes. He wasn't seen out at all. His armor, his weapons and such look ragged. He has no armor on. His armor eroded quite a while. The only thing that has not eroded with time is his body and his weapon. As he would say to himself, makes sense. The greatest weapon ever forged by Hephaestus herself. And mixed with my blood and my powers, no wonder why you lasted so long. As wandering around the city, eventually getting a lay and getting an understanding for currency, how the dungeon worked, and the familiars. Well, scratch that, not the familiars. He was the OG familiar well, not the OG. He was one of the first, though. One of the first. The OG would probably be Gwendolyn, actually. As he walks around, and eventually comes to nighttime, he looks at the amount of money he has, and he knows it won't be enough. He looks around at some of the stands. All he can get is a loaf of bread. He drops it off and takes that loaf of bread, starts eating it. As he makes his way, he comes by a party of familiars with someone saying, "So, Eyes, how you been doing?" As when he's walking, he makes eye contact for several seconds as Loki stops. And they all notice this as they see this giant man locking eyes with Loki. Loki's looking him dead in the eyes. Deku then... Loki. Up to his old tricks again. If I remember correctly, Loki can change gender, so yeah. He's like, do his old tricks again. As he walks away, Loki, are you okay? He's like, yeah, just looked familiar to me. Couldn't place my finger. Where have I seen him before? Anyways, let's go to a bar, guys. Let's celebrate and get drunk. Do. Deku eventually coming to stay at Hestia's little broken down church, resting his head on what can only be assumed as a bench. As he's sleeping, he hears something and looks over. As he takes a stand, he's like, "Well, who are you?" I am Bell. It is a pleasure to meet you." Well, he says Bell because that was the thing that he first saw. That's what the man at the store asked him. He's like, "What's your name?" He looked around for a second. He's like, "I'm Bell." He's like, "Bell, yes. Well, Bell, hope you have safe journeys. Thank you." As he speaks with Hestia, it's like, "Oh, well, I am goddess Hestia." Hestia, the sister of Zeus, the goddess of home, the protection of your home and such. I believe this is what she's worshipped for. She's like, "Yes, not many people know me. Many take my other siblings and such." Like, "It is a pleasure to meet you, goddess Hestia." He was about to say once again, but he manages to hold that off. She's like, "So what are you doing here, Belle? I wish to become an adventurer, but many refuse me. They say I looked like in their words, a hobo or a homeless person." It's like, "Well, yeah, you are kind of wearing a bunch of dead animal skins. Like, it's not my fault. I mainly lived out in the woods." As he's making up a lie, pretty much saying that, "Hey, you're a goddess, right?" Pretty much wondering. He's no longer a god, so he doesn't really have anything else to do. So once he heard about this city he had to see, and once he saw it, now he wishes to go into that dungeon to see what it's like. But you have to be a familiar member to go in there. Knowing this, Belle asks her would she mind him joining her familia. She has no problem with it. In fact, she's like, "Alright, how about you rest on it, see if you definitely want it. Because I know I'm not the best." She's like, "I'll wait until morning, so that way you are sure if you want me in your familia, Lady Hestia." As he gives a bow, she's like, stay here for a second. As she brings out, here's a blanket and a pillow. Sorry, the blanket's kind of small. He's like, it's no worries. Thank you. As he lays down his head and just sleeps. In another place, Loki's like, where have I seen him before? I remember him from somewhere. Where? She's like, I don't know where you left, where you've seen him before, but here. She's like, maybe if I drink, I'll remember. Still not coming to me. Get me another one. As she starts drinking the night away, Belle is fast asleep. Just dreaming and having a nice, calm dream. There's nothing else around him, just him. Finds it curious. But anyways, he doesn't let distract him. I think of anything better for Belle's speech. Yes I did. For Solaire's speech at the very end, I've also been at the same time thinking of what to say for Solaire's speech. So here it is. It lets out to speak like quieting everyone down. His voice being amplified so that way it'd be more like a microphone. Saying, for all you who do not know, I am General Solaire, first captain of Belle's Familia. I knew Belle when he came down. When I first met him, he was on his path traveling and defeating dragons in the land of Anorlando. Saved me and my family from a fight of drakes. In return for that, he also escorted us and kept us safe while we traveled to the next city because of the dragon attack. During that, I offered my service to him to help him find where my family's farm was attacked, and I helped him defeat it. In fact, believe it or not, I had an affinity for his magic, and I knew about his family and was worshipping him even before then. After he saw me fight, he offered me a chance in his company and allowed me to assist him in fighting the dragons. Me and the warriors who fought beside him I was young at the time, but during this time, I've come to see Lord Faram as somewhat of a father, or even a brother. He has protected me and saved me on countless occasions. I was there with him I was there. I was his first familiar member. Next to that was Lord Ornstein, captain of the Silver Knights, or ex-captain, as several of them laugh. But unfortunately, Lord Faram has passed, and he has asked me to say, but from that time he told me this: the gods are as dependent on us as we are on them. For without our faith and without our love, they could not protect us as they do now. As Lord Faram did, he fought with everything he had to defend against his father's tyranny. When his fathers wanted to force the lizard folk into slavery. And this is being said and this is being translated into all languages, so everyone knows what he's saying. He wanted to subjugate the lizard men. If the lizard men did not subjugate themselves, he would annihilate them. Lord Faram stopped that from happening, for he had seen enough bloodshed. Did not want to see happen anymore. Lord Faram gave everything he had to stop his father's tyranny, and he would have destroyed us all if it was not for Lord Faram. He asked for us to do this service for him. He wishes for his burial to be left alone. He wishes to be able to rest for eternity. He wishes for us to remember his words. To defend each other and defend against tyranny. Not defend against tyranny, but whatever. To remember the words. Give love to the gods and love each other. For there is nothing greater than that. He never said to he never said to me he never said it to myself directly. But I learned that from him, for he loved each and every man under his command, and put his life on the line. Will you refuse him this last request? Would you refuse Lord Faram's last wish? As they raise up their sword, as everyone shouts out in every language, no, they will not. He says, good. Go home to your families. Go home to your friends. Rebuild your lives. The war is over! As he says that, a whole heap of "The war is over!" shouts out all along, everywhere. It echoes off the walls and buildings. Well, the walls of the mountains. And with that being said, that's where I'll be cutting it off now. I hope y'all have enjoyed this. Hope y'all continue to enjoy this. And I hope y'all have a nice day, nice night, nice life.